get up, you need to get up off your ass, boy. Get up, you need to get up off your ass, girl. Get up, you need to get up off your ass, boy. Get up, you need to get up off your ass, girl. Get up, you need to get up off your ass, boy. Get up, you need to get up off your ass, girl. Get up, you need to get up off your ass, boy. Get up. First things first, don't do this rap shit to stand out. My plan's about to minimize the folks holding their hands out. Whether you on the corner bumming all day at your man's house, relying on government funds, crying cause they...
Alright, hello. Welcome to another episode of ShopTalk After Hours. This is Victor Wesley, aka Vic West, here with my man Jason, and Andrew, and Quentin, and Sister Sonya. How you guys doing today?
I'm good.
Everything's good, man.
Good,
I'm doing fine.
All right. Yeah, Ernest said we can just go on without him. He's got some things he's got to take care of. But I'm sure if he can't, he'll jump in if he can. So we all know why we're here. Let me tell everyone else why we're here. All right. So the substitute teacher in, I think it's Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Her and a student had a altercation, and I'm gonna play it just so people can, just a way of reminding folk. I hope this works out. No, let me see how this works. Oh, I'll play that next.
Hey, everybody.
Let me play.
Here's the teacher.
Why does the rules not apply to everybody else? That's my phone. No, you did not keep nobody else's phone. And you finna give me my don't touch me. That's on my phone.
We can't see
Situation
it,
continues to escalate,
I know.
obviously, to this moment. Both the student and the substitute teacher swinging at each other. Within seconds, the student is on the ground, restrained by the sub, disturbing all the way around.
Yeah, everybody else saw it. I don't know why y'all didn't see it. But we've all seen it. Have we all seen it? I'm assuming we've all seen it before.
Hughes, you're muted.
Yeah, we seen it.
Yeah.
I know, I seen it.
Now,
Yeah, I saw it.
yeah, so what has happened is, so far, is that both the substitute and the teacher have been charged with some form of simple assault. I know the teacher's been charged with simple assault. The student's been charged with something related to a juvenile. She did put up a response, the teacher, and I'm going to see if you can see and hear this. And the whole thing is about 13 minutes long, so I put the link in the description box. I'm just going to play about 5 minutes of her response, of the substitute teacher's response to this.
Hey, everybody.
Okay. I don't know.
Here's the teacher. You wanted to hear from the teacher? Here I
Can y'all
am.
hear?
First of
we
all,
hear it.
I want to say I love everybody. Thank you for your support. Yes, people have been getting threats and some negativity. That's just, it doesn't really matter. At that point, everybody does have an opinion. But I've been working with young people for 22 years. I started out in high school tutoring young folks in elementary. I taught dance, cheerleading, drill team. I taught Sunday school, praise and worship dance. Like I said, Sunday school, Sunday church, and found myself, I used to work as an administrator in the office or office support in the school district, and then I'm here as a substitute teacher. Thank you. I'm so glad you can hear me or can't hear me. Can or can't. Okay. So I just wanted to say, though, In all my 22 years, never have I ever experienced what I experienced this Monday. I've never been attacked by young folks. I love young people. This is why I work with them. I have a heart for them. That young lady attacked me, and she went for blood. She took out an inch of my hairline from here all the way to 2 inches back here. And y'all know that black women have hair issues, okay? I don't understand what it is with black on black crime. Black women hating on each other. I never did that. I always show love to my sister, especially to the kids. The kids are our future. So that fake page that was up, that somebody was like, F the kids and F that job, it was never F the kids. Because the kids are our future. But I'm going to tell you this. She was in my space. She was behind the desk. I followed protocol for whoever said that I touched her first. Okay? And I tried to call for an administrator or somebody at the office 3 times. But never in my 22 years working with young people have I ever been attacked. But let me tell you something. Within a month, there has been a teacher that was knocked unconscious with her head kicked in. Twice, 2 teachers. Another teacher got a gun pulled on her. And like I say, I love kids. My husband said, yeah, I spend my own money. I reward good behavior. I let the kids know that they have something to offer the world. They do. Each and every one of them is special in their own way. And the world is waiting for them to share their gifts. But as for me, as much as I love the kids, I cannot put my life or my livelihood in danger anymore. I will be saying goodbye to this profession. I went to school 3 times for real estate. Oh, yes, I'm being faced with charges as well behind this. And so, if I get a charge on my record, there goes my career again. Period. I have 4 children. My children would never, you best believe, I raised my kids right. They would never disrespect authority of any kind or an adult. They know to come to me. OnlyFans is out of the question. I'm not that kind of lady. I grew up in church. Okay?
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. But the full live is in the chat. You can watch the whole thing. Stuff like this is why teachers are quitting in droves. I tell you the truth. I spent 4 years teaching music, and I've taught K through 12. I only taught 4 years, and then after that, I was done. Now, I never had a student be violent towards me. There are a couple reasons why I kind of left, but I'll tell you what, I'm gone. I ain't even thinking about going back. I still love working with young people because most of them are great kids, but you just have this small percentage that honestly they don't have the ability to function in a school environment or organized or structured environment. And it's really crazy because part of schools and parents is to prepare students for the next level of life, to be on the job, to be in the workforce. If this student did on a job what she did in the classroom, she wouldn't have a job. And yet, but both of them are charged. And I'll say this and let you guys go ahead. school policy for that district does allow for a teacher to defend themselves. So I don't get why the teacher and the student's been charged. I mean, if the student swung on me, the same thing happened. You're tall enough and stature enough, to match a teacher height and weight and all that. All that juvenile stuff goes right out the window the minute you want to start acting grown. So that's how I feel. Y'all go ahead.
I fail to understand why they even charged the teacher to begin with. I mean, we just had the fight at our local school here at Manning High. And is the problem stemming at home that these adults are not raising their kids with any kind of respect or anything? I mean, if I hit a teacher when I was in school, I wouldn't just take it from law enforcement perspective. I'd take it from my parents too. I don't understand what's happening with these kids. Like I don't get it. And I'm hoping Quentin can shed some light, because he is in the school system and he sees these kids on a daily basis. But the only thing I would disagree with what you said, Vic, is it's a small majority. It seems, and I might be wrong, it seems that it's a larger majority that just feel like that they can talk to the teachers, the staff, police officers, the resource officers, any which way they want. I don't get it.
Yeah, from my standpoint, it's a higher percentage than in the past, but it's not kid for kid. If that makes sense, in my experience. Like, anybody else, Andrew?
The teacher being charged, of course, we all disagree with it. Taking from the law enforcement standpoint of it is, for real, it's all politics. It's all politics, because it's national news and everybody's, she shouldn't hit a child, this and that. She's an adult, she could have just restrained her, blah, 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 blah. That's all the hype that's going on right now. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to be thrown out. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be thrown out. Because just like I said, if the first part that you played where the media was a teacher and a student swung on each other, no, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. The girl swung on her. The girl kept hitting her. In order to get the girl to stop, she had to hit her back. And then she got her on the floor and she restrained her. She held her down until and kept yelling for help until somebody got there. That's the proper procedure as far as that is concerned. The way the society is looking at it is, you shouldn't hit a child. Wrong answer. Because even as a police officer, you swing on, I'm not even going to give you a chance to swing on me. I'm going to spray you. Now, me spraying you is worse than me hitting you. So look at it like that. She had nothing to defend herself. The girl backed her in a corner with all that hype, this, that. And from what I'm hearing is she told her friends, y'all go ahead and record this because I'm about to beat her ass. And then as you see, she was on the floor. Why ain't y'all help me? Them kids ain't want that smoke. They saw that this teacher's not playing with you. And that's what they have to learn nowadays is everybody's not going to just stand there and allow you to beat on them. From school teachers to whoever. Go ahead.
I want you to think about it. If you took that female teacher out of it and replaced it with a male teacher, what would be your view on it?
Same thing. Yep. I mean, in all honesty, a male fighting a female or restraining a female is going to be a little different. So it's going to be a little different. A teacher, a male like myself or you, we might be able to take 1 or 2 punches, but we're going to grab and we're going to restrain. And it might look a little more violent than, what it really is. But we're gonna grab them and we're gonna restrain them. I'm gonna take her to the floor and I'm gonna hold her down to that floor until some help gets there. So yeah, it's it's the same view. Now, I'm not going to say, because I've had this happen as far as, staff working with students when I was a director at a facility, to where I'm not going to agree with a male teacher if she swung, that child swung on a male teacher, hit him in the arm, he blocked it, whatever have you. He ran back and punched in the face and knocked her out. I'm not going to agree with that. But as a male, restraining her, or, if he did have to hit her, hit her in a manner to gain control, that teacher, as a female, go ahead.
Let me ask you this. And this is more of like a rhetorical question. Why would you view it differently if a man did it?
No, I'm not. You heard me say I'm not viewing it different. What I'm saying is the response may have been different, to where the man is he wouldn't have fought her like that unless he had to. Majority of men, when it comes to restraining females, is to gain control. He'll probably grab her, push her, and throw her to the floor. Now, if he had to hit her, to gain control, then it is what it is. I'm going to agree with it. I'm not looking at it any different whether or not it's a male or a female teacher.
But the fact of the matter is, I think you are the minority in that regard, because most people would see the man, and just because he did anything, even restraining her in a forceful manner, could cause him having the same charges as the female actually laying hands on. And it's certainly not fair, but we have to, as professionals, kind of consider that and see if it's really, we gotta do more de-escalation and analyze the situation, have situational awareness and understand differences and emotional intelligence to know how to handle each and every student. She being a sub, she probably didn't understand those students, so she just reacting to whatever the scenario is. So, but it is an extreme challenge to be able to navigate day to day. I mean, quite honestly, just to be able to handle managing children these days. I mean, I of course only teach 6th graders, but even yet it's still a challenge, because you understand different young men, different young ladies come from different environments. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't have that respect for your person that's in authority at home, then the likelihood of you having respect for me is little to nil. And so you have to understand that going in and kind of build relationships in order to prevent these kind of things. Because, yeah, could you lay a little kid out? Of course. I mean, who's proud about that, right?
But she's not a little kid. She's a high school. She's not a little kid. She's a high school. She matches her in height and stature.
No, I got it, because I was trying to make a point when I said what I said. You ask yourself why we would view it differently if a man did it. Most likely it's because we're bigger, stronger, and mentally should be civilized enough to be able to control our tempers or emotions that will prevent us from putting hands on the opposite sex, even though it doesn't always work out that way. But the same logic that we're using when it comes to a man, could we somewhat use that? Not saying I disagree with playing devil's advocate right now. If that's the logic we use with a man hitting a woman, even worse, putting hands on a child that's still a minor, if we'll frown upon that, because he's bigger, stronger, and all that stuff. That lady was bigger. She looked like she the way she handled it looked like she was stronger. And as an adult, that this is your first time dealing with kids, we should probably expect you to be able to restrain yourself, control your emotions.
No.
Oh.
But
I'm gonna explain
She
it.
was a
No.
substitute there for a year. And like she said in her response, she's been
Okay,
working
all
with
right.
young people for over 20-something years. I mean,
All right.
I'm just...
Go ahead,
Right.
Terrence. Go ahead.
Now, go ahead. Go ahead.
Restraint
I'm
is
gonna say I disagree because, and this is why. Because, for an example, it's being video, right? That's one. These kids look at videos all day, and it teaches them, it gives them examples of how to handle situations or whatever have you. The bottom line is this: you let that child get away with it, then everybody else, just like everybody else in society, will try the same thing. And is it fair? Is it fair for us to have to go to work every day and deal with people's disrespect, people's assault, people's non-compliance response to policy and procedure, even in school, and just take it? So in other words, she should have just let the girl just push her around, go on the desk, take the phone, and go about her business.
I literally didn't say anything close to that. I didn't say anything close to that. I'm saying that the logic that we use to holding a male accountable because of him physically, how he can dominate her physically, then why aren't any of us using that same logic to hold this fully grown woman that's bigger than this woman, have more life experiences, most likely is stronger than this child. So we would expect more of her.
So what could she have done differently?
And I'm not, and before you go, I am not saying that I disagree with how she handled it. I'm just pointing out something that's just weird. How we they're
place judgment. Right.
Yeah,
place judgment.
It's sexism.
Place judgment on men because they are larger. But your point is, she was a larger person. She was a stronger person. I get it. I get what he's saying. He's just saying, why aren't we? However, I would have to disagree with Quentin just a little bit on the whole de-escalation. In this particular incident, there was no de-escalation possible. That girl was going to kick that teacher's ass. Like, there wasn't anybody going to stop her, and she straight went to her face. It reminds me of the resource officer up at Richland that slammed that girl on the floor at the desk after he got hit by her. Whether some of you guys agree or disagree, for me, I don't feel the officer was out of line. I feel that her and her parents should be held accountable. And the same goes for this situation. Her and her parents should be held accountable for that teacher because now she doesn't want to teach. And teachers, difference in law enforcement and folks of that magnitude is you guys are taught to defend yourselves, how to defend yourselves. Teachers are just there with a degree. Most of them, went up to a master's and now they're teaching. That's what they know. That's what they're there for. And to have a student come, you never heard of that. And it's happening more and more across America. And I agree with Terrence. At the end of the day, and with Hughes, at the end of the day, you go to hands-on to somebody, whether you a student or not. Now, granted, we use Quentin brought up a great point. He teaches 6th grade, so you're not going to go full on and knock the kid's teeth out and do all these things, to a small minor child, which it's a whole lot easier to restrain them. But these high school students, they're towering over some of these teachers, and we have to remember some of our teachers are even in their elderly years, 50 to 70 years old, getting ready for retirement. Really, what is a 65-year-old woman that's been teaching all her life really going to do against a 17-year-old girl or male that hauls off and hits them? It's not right. It's not right. She should have never been charged, and they should maximize the penalty for that student and hold those parents accountable. That's just my point of view.
Sorry.
I'm gonna tell you right now. in the state of South Carolina, the child is not going to be held accountable. She's going to get some bull crap, community service, something, whatever have you. If anything, I mean, she should be charged a fine and maybe given some detention time or whatever have you. But it all depends on whether or not she's got previous charges. They're going to send her to mental health to get her evaluated and all this other kind of stuff that's going to go on prior to her going to court.
I think everybody involved should learn a little bit more de-escalating situations. And I'm not saying the teacher was right in defending herself. I think she should have the right to defend herself, but she should have a better judgment on, like, really taking the phone. Was it really that serious to get into a physical fight? Then she could have let the girl take the phone and go find an administrator or somebody else to handle that situation. Because now we're talking about this young lady's whole career to possibly be over for a simple cell phone.
I'm going to agree with that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Let me. That's exactly where I was going, because that's what I meant by de-escalation. You have to understand what you are dealing with and the population that we are dealing with these days. It is different. These children, unfortunately, are not being raised in an environment where they understand respect and responsibility. I'm not saying every child is, of course, chaotic and undisciplined, but we have to look at the overall masses and recognize that the majority of students, if they are not, even if they are getting it at home, they still have that influence of being rude, being disubordinate from their peers, right? So they have that peer pressure of being rude. They dealing with internet, right? And you have all these TikTok challenges that are ridiculous, but they provoking children to try all kind of different stuff, right? Now, don't get me wrong. Yes, I'm a man of faith, but I also believe that, you know, there were times in the Bible where men and women of God had to handle things physically. And so if a kid, I don't care how old you are, if you come up on me and you hit me, then you gotta, I don't know how I would react. I can't rationally say, oh, you need to calm down. Let's be real, right? I don't come from that. I come from a different kind of world. So I just train myself to try to foresee situations so that I can be able to clip them early. And so it's a balancing act to understanding, all right, what needs to be done for what situation. And just as Ms. Sonia said, she didn't have to go to that extreme. I understand the rules are saying you shouldn't have cell phones, but that don't mean I need to get the cell phone. That does not mean that I need to be the aggressor and make sure that I fulfill the school policy. That is reason why you have typical schools, SRO, as well as administration. So if I ask you for it and you don't want to kindly give it over to me, then I ain't fighting that fight. I ain't here for that. What I'm here to do is to educate you. And so if you're not receptive to direction and correction, then I'm not going to that extreme. I got other things to do. You know, so you I'm not saying that she is wrong in defending herself. Don't get me wrong. Because again, I clearly stated I'm not sure how I would handle myself. But at the same time, we as professionals have to be socially aware, like really understand the circumstances, the conditions, and understand what is necessary. And I'm say this, and I'm gonna let someone else speak. I also believe in order to get respect, you got to give respect. Personally. So what I really try to make sure I do, no matter how young the child is to say, listen, son, listen, daughter, listen, baby, you are a child and I respect you. I am an adult. All I'm asking for is the same respect in return. That's all I'm asking for. I understand you upset, understand you feel a certain way, but consider this. I'm not doing anything that will hurt you or disrespect you. So give me that same respect. And most of the time, that de-escalates it right there. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but I know we're in a different time. I get we're in a different time. Okay, we're not in the 20 years ago where hitting a teacher was unheard of. That was unheard of. If that happened, it was 1 in 10 million probably that one occurred, and they were expelled, and it was over and done with. And they were charged and sent off to a little juvenile hall, whatever. But I know that I believe it's Manning High that you're supposed to turn off your cell phones when you walk in the building. Maybe stronger policies and procedures, up at higher levels of no cell phones, period, by any student. Because let's be realistic. The cell phones themselves create chaos. If there's an active shooter, if there's a TikTok, you've got 10,000 parents coming up to the school trying to figure out, when the administration, that's their job to handle those things. This mandatory, that's my son's cell phone, that's my daughter's cell phone. Okay, well, then you tell your son or daughter, don't bring it to school. I'm sorry, you're not going to die without a cell phone for 6, 7, 8 hours a day. Because quite honestly, at the end of the day, when you go into the workforce, if you're doing using your phone during company time and you're caught, they're going to warn you once. The next time they're going to fire you. Like, we have to set a base tone and get back to where we were. This is well out of hand.
Longer you die if you let that child keep that phone for 5 minutes to go find somebody else to handle that phone policy. I mean, I don't think the phone situation was serious enough to lose your career.
Sonia, your mic is messed up.
Yeah.
Okay, so hold on.
Oh, that's perfect.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, there we go.
You can hear me now? Okay, so what I was saying, nor if the teacher would have let the young lady keep the cell phone for 5 minutes, the teacher wouldn't have died either. So that goes both ways. I just don't think that phone, that girl keeping that phone because she didn't listen, is enough to lose a career over. I deal with kids on a daily. I don't know what's going on, y'all. Hold on, let me turn my... let me do that.
There you go.
See if I can get y'all... Hold on. Yeah, it's off. So can y'all hear me?
Yes, that's perfect.
That's better. Okay, so I'm going to say it again. I don't think if the teacher would allow the student to keep the phone for 5 minutes until she found somebody who could handle that situation was enough, she wouldn't have died either. The teacher wouldn't have died. It wasn't very adamant that she be the one to make this kid follow the school's rule. One, she was a substitute. Now she's not even a substitute. And if I'm not mistaken, her realtor's license may be in jeopardy as well. And all of this behind a cell phone. We deal with kids on a regular. You got to know the kids that you can deal with, and you got to know the kids that you can't deal with. You got to know. Because there are kids that you can pick up disrespect immediately. And you know what I do for those kids? You can lead them to the trough. You can't make them drink. I'll love them as much as they let me love them. But after that, you might have to leave them alone.
Is that even an option in the school system?
When
Like
we
you
talking about a
said,
cell
hey,
phone,
Politically, it's no child left
saying-
behind.
Is what an option exactly? I'm sorry.
let me. What is the option I'm speaking on is when she stated that you can leave. I'm paraphrasing. I think you said you can leave the horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
meaning, go ahead.
I mean, I get that. I get that. And I believe you said that at the end of the day, sometimes you just have to leave them alone. Because basically, it's not going to do any good. I guess try to motivate them or get them in line. Period.
Okay, so let me.
I think that's an option. But
Okay, so let me clarify what I was saying. Go ahead, finish.
No, I'm good.
Okay, so what I was trying to say is not necessarily leave them alone, but I'm not going to lose my career over something that I could have avoided. Or I'm not going to go to jail over something that I could have thought a little bit more about instead of jumping to, it was an all-out brawl, y'all. Like, seriously, like, was it worth it over a cell phone? Hey, baby. It wasn't. It wasn't. And if we following the rules, why wouldn't, do we know if this school even had SROs or somebody in a higher authority position?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. She did say she was trying to call an administrator while she was acting the fool. And so, I mean, she was trying to call an administrator. She was telling her, you know, don't touch me, back away. So there was an attempt to de-escalate. It could have been done better, but nobody's saying that there was no attempt for de-escalation. But she was trying to de-escalate, but one hand you're trying to de-escalate when someone is basically working to escalate. And
now let's look at the video itself.
Okay,
because I worked as a school resource officer. Quinn works in the school, and the captain's in the school a lot of times. Nowadays, the way the school is set up, the teacher was in the position to where, as you see, she had the phone in the hand trying to call the administrator, and the girl kept approaching her. So I tend to agree. I do agree with what Captain's saying, what Quentin's saying. Okay, de-escalation, let her get the phone. But what I'm not going to agree with is you're not going to come to my desk, go through my drawers looking for, your phone and to do whatever. No, you back away, like the teacher was saying, as she was at the desk trying to call an administrator, couldn't get through to anybody because this girl kept approaching her in her space in that area where the phone was as she's trying to call somebody. I mean, I'm looking at all of that because one thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to just take the phone and give it back to you and then go get somebody. No, I'm not doing all that. I had already taken the phone from you in reference to whatever was going on or why I took the phone. And then I went to call the administrator in reference to it. But you aggressively came towards me into my space and demanded certain things. No, you're not doing that.
But how do we learn from this?
Yeah.
How do we learn from this? What do we take away from this? All schools. Where's the lesson in this? Because you can learn from anything out there. Where do we start? Because I'll be honest with you, made a reference to South Carolina. If this were to happen here in one of these local schools, nothing probably would happen. Charges wouldn't be filed. It would be the teacher's fault. They'd let the teacher go. I mean, they'd let resource officers go. They'd let teachers go over this same similar situation, not exact, but similar. Where does it stop? Why is it that our administrators are so scared to put their foot down, and say, no, I stand behind this teacher? The schools have attorneys, and they should be good attorneys to say, no, we're going to press charges. This student is permanently expelled from, quite frankly, any South Carolina school. When you go to lay hands on a teacher, they're there to instruct. And if you interrupt that instruction, you're either one, sent to the office, or two, whatever is being disruptive is taken from you. That's been the norm in our schools since I'm 51 years. I'll be 51 years old this year. That's been the norm. So how do we take from here and say, do we put this out there like, hey, everyone needs to start putting their foot down, whether you're raised good or bad at home. Here, you'll respect, your teachers, you'll respect your administration, you'll respect your officers, and this is where it stops. And if you act a fool, we're going to expel you and put you out of school. We're going to allow a learning environment versus a chaotic, ridiculous TikTok, YouTube, all this other junk that they think is so cool. I'm going to show you how cool it is. You're done with school. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong, but
you're not wrong. But I would say this. I think what the learning, the key question that you asked was, what do we learn from this? And me being a parent, as well as a teacher, look at it from both sides of the fence. As a parent, it is my responsibility to teach my son to be respectful to any adult, as long and listen, as long as that adult is not trying to lead you or hurt you in any form or fashion. Period. Whether you agree or like this person or think this person is whatever, your thoughts and perceptions and feelings are out of the window when it comes down to how you're supposed to respond. Okay? So that's a must. We have to get back to the place where parents become parents and stop being friends.
Yeah.
All right? From a parental place. If we can just lay it out there, all right, you can be friendly as they get older. But when they are children, you have to establish the precedents that you will be respectful, and otherwise you are setting them up for future failure. Because the world ain't gonna take it. Like you said, if she was to do this at a job, you losing your job. And you're going to jail. So what are we doing exactly as far as a parent perspective? From a teacher perspective, it's a challenge. You have to still, yes, learn how to fight your battles. Otherwise, you're going to have to fight a battle. You know what I'm saying? And you don't want to hurt anybody, including yourself in your career, because you work too hard to get there. So you have to be considerate of all options in order to avoid certain circumstances, but it's not always avoidable. Okay? Let's just put that out there. But that is why in other cities we have unions. See, this could not happen in New York or New Jersey or Philly for that. Why? Because they have strong teacher unions. And because of that, they are protected. Their employment is protected. Down south, I love it. I do. That's why I'm still here. I could teach in multiple other states. If this was to ever happen, I think I'll be gone. But nevertheless, that's the reason why they would be okay, is because of the union protection, and they would not have to be worried about losing their livelihood behind this. It's still, from a child's perspective, what they need to learn, seriously, don't run up unless you ready. because you don't know what you're getting yourself into playing these tough games, because you don't know who this person really is. They show you something that you may not really be prepared for, right? But adults, let's also consider respect is given both ways. Let's keep that in mind. Let's not feed a person, well, I'm an adult, so you're gonna respect me. No. That's not how we move. We are professionals. And I respect the fact of how you handle the situation. A child wants to know, do you care? So that has to be the main thing. What are you really there for? Are you there to regulate? Are you there to educate? And so if you focus on the education more than a regulation, then you'll get more done. Because otherwise, you're going to stay in that constant battle the whole time. And where's the teaching going? Not much. Not much being done. I don't talk enough, so that's just my.
You brought up a good point, as far as teaching at home. But we all know, late 90s, early 2000s, a lot of parents weren't in the home, and both parents were working. And with the economy the way it is right now today, there's a lot of that going on. So the parents can't be involved as much as they want. And the next thing they hear is, Miss Miller, I need you to come get your daughter. She's been suspended, and they don't even know anything's occurred yet. So that's where I'm wondering, does the districts and the states start stepping in and saying, all right, these parents are struggling and they're not in their child's life. It's not because they don't want to be, it's because they don't have a choice. They're trying to make ends meet. And the schools become more strict. You go to a private school and you act a fool in a private school, they take your money and they kick you out. Let's be real. A public school, you get away with so much more. And so we have to put a baseline somewhere. The unions, like you spoke of, you're right, that teacher probably still have their job, but because strong unions have strong attorneys, have strong ties in the community, it's community based. And do we go back to that, kind of like when we talked about police officers, walking the beat and getting familiar with the community again? Is it the same way with the teachers and the administrators? The administrators being more involved in walking every single classroom every single day. Yeah, it's a hike. I'm sorry if you're a principal, that's a hike to have to traipse around. But is that what you need to do? I am sure all of you remember the black principal out in California with a bat that walked around in the high school, and he kicked out more gang members than any principal in the history of schools. Do we go to that form of, hey, we're checking every classroom, sorry to disturb you, looking in the windows, whatever we need to do to ensure that the teachers are safe? We know the students are safe, because no teacher is going to beat on a student and just get away with it. Okay, let's be real. But are the teachers safe? Do we need to focus more on the teachers? And when we focus on the teachers, we're also focusing on the students and their learning and their absorption capability. Because if you've got a disruption, you get rid of that disruption, then you're back to a learning environment where these kids can actually learn something. I guess I'm playing from old school because I'm just gray-haired old man. I just why are we where we're at versus where we need to be, and we all know where we need to be. What's the solution? Where do we start drawing the line? Because these teachers didn't sign on to throw dukes with any student. Most teachers, if you ask them why they did this because they love children and they wanted to help them grow and become something great. They get reward from watching them grow. So where is that dividing line, and where do we stand? And that can make an impact here in South Carolina, reaching out to the administration, reaching out to above the administration, to our government levels, to change things. Because like you said, we're losing numbers of teachers in huge rates. Schools are not even having class half the time because they don't even have a substitute, let alone a teacher.
Yeah, I think we're in a time where education has become politicized, and so it's become public schools are required to educate every child, no matter what, whether or not that child wants to learn, whether or not that child goes to school with the mind to learn. It doesn't matter. We have to educate every child. So if the child fails, it's always 100% the school's fault. So you can't have a teacher say, parents, y'all need to do a better job raising your kids. Because the principal is going to come down that teacher. But the principal can't say, parents, you need to do a better job. Because the superintendent, but the superintendent can't say, parents, you do better. Because the school board, who are politicians, going to come down on him. Because now the goal is just, we got to educate every kid, and we can't defund or punish parents. But the lowest level we can do is teachers. So no matter what, and teachers, we got to know, when it goes bad, it's going to turn around and automatically be 100% the teacher's fault, no matter what. So our professionalism has to be so much.
Change that? Can we?
I don't know how
can
to
we change that
that
at the level of the school system? These are zero tolerance policies. You will not do these things inside for 7-8 hours, whatever it is you're in school, to make it more strict. And that's not saying, hey, you're not raising your kids. That's saying, hey, listen, while your children are here, these are the policies that will be enforced and will be implemented on every student. And if they can't follow them, they're out of here. Yeah. But like you said, the big takeaway, I think, from some of this is, you're right, no student left behind law. So it's not a law anymore. It's more like a philosophy. Right. But that's
so we got to keep this kid in here so he can learn. Otherwise, his test scores are going to go down. But he ain't trying to learn know-how.
Right, but that's how the school gets funding too. Yeah. And if y'all didn't know some of that, it's all based on test scores, how the school does as a whole. I've never heard of credit recovery and retaking a test and dropping this test score and that test score and retaking this. And no, if you failed, you failed. You know, we're given an easy out because the schools are held to such strict guidelines to get funding. And it doesn't represent what the school is really doing for the children. So I think we've gotten away from the basics. And if we go back to those basic cores, we'll have the students and the funding because our students are doing well, because we're giving them a learning environment that we have a zero tolerance policy for these items, especially striking a teacher. I mean, you strike a police officer and you're lucky you don't take a beat down from the entire force. Okay. I'm sorry, but the truth is the truth. You attack an officer in this state for no reason at all, very similar to the situation. And I hope the body cameras go off and you take an ass whooping that you never took before in your life. Those guys deal with enough. And the same thing goes with teachers. You know, they should have ran in there with bats and let the student walk away with a limp. Sorry, but that's just my take on it. Like, you can't sit there. Terrence works in a federal prison. You slap one of them officers up there, and I promise you, I bet that's probably the last thing you're going to remember. You know, I don't want Terrence to admit to anything that obviously. But guys, that's my take on it. Maybe it's hardcore. Maybe it's because I was ex-military, and you did this because this is the way it was. Well, we've gotten away from that, and we're blaming the teachers. And it's, at the end of the day, it's not the teachers, it's the students. And if you want to push it even further back, it's the way they're being raised. Some of these parents are in the home, and their kids are out of control. Like the fight at Manning High School, those were adults attacking each other. you're setting that kind of example for your child because, Bob said I was trash. Well, I'm going to hit him in his jaw for that. Like, what? Like, what happened to, I know y'all remember the commercial, Rising Above it, being above that standard, sticks and stones, come on. You're being offended because somebody said you're a loser. Really? Gavin came home from school today because a girl took a slushie and dumped it on his head and all down him because they were joking back and forth. I'm not kidding you. He had to come home, take a shower, change his clothes. I ain't gonna get into it. Nobody got in trouble. The principal didn't even find out about it. But nonetheless, it got out of control. Nobody got hurt. And Gavin's like, Mom, can you sign me out of school? I got to take a shower. It's all fun and games. But at the end of the day, really, my son had to come home. He was taken out of class. It was outdoor rec. So really, he didn't miss much instruction. But had it happened inside the classroom, it'd have been a different story. Where does it stop? And for the incident, I blame Gavin just as much as I blame the young lady that did it to him. But where does it stop? Where do we draw the line, guys? Like, for real, this is, we're impacting our future. These kids are our future. And if we teach them that it's okay to get away with whatever in the hell you want to get away with, and you're not encouraging them and you're not building them up, because I'm not saying, hey, slap them with this whip and, we're in charge. I'm saying, this is what's expected from you. And if you can't conform, this is where you're going. Because they're our future. They're going to run the country. We're going to grow old. And if it keeps going down the same road, teachers are going to be obsolete and this country is going to be out of control. And it's already heading that direction. That's another time, another shop talk. But I mean, seriously, guys, what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I already said everything I need to say. It is.
I'm with you guys.
Yeah,
speaking of school, I gotta get to mine. So
yeah, big
bless
shout
you.
out to all the teachers and shout out to all the students who are doing what they need to do and getting their work done and being focused. We love y'all. We're praying for y'all. But yeah, it's public education is a pickle right now.
She does a lot of work with the kids. I'd like to hear. Do you agree with me, Miss Sonia? Do you disagree? Yeah. I mean, you work with kids, and your opinion is very valuable, I would say.
All I can say is kids today aren't like kids were 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It's definitely a challenge more now than it has ever been since I came on the scene. Like I said, it was a unfortunate situation. I feel bad for the teacher, the administrator. But again, sometimes we gotta meet people where they are. I don't know what this young lady's home life was like, how she was raised. She may be somebody who got to fight for everything she gets. Just a bad situation for everybody involved.
All right. Anything else from anybody else? You last words on this topic? We good? All right. Well, Jason already alluded to it. You guys want to talk about the Manning High, the parents who fought? Well, yeah, because since we talked enough about students and teachers, I guess we'll talk about parents right now. We cool with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's see.
Who's laughing?
Let's see if I can get this video right here for this news report. Just to remind us.
Tonight, a fight between Manning High School parents and students on school grounds has led to the arrest of 4 parents. We need to warn you, the video that we're about to show is violent and many of you may find it disturbing. The Clarendon County Sheriff's Office tells us that parents and students got into what they're really describing as a brawl right in the school's main lobby at around noon. 4 parents are now facing charges of public disorderly conduct. Ashley Brock, Santana Butler, Andrea Walters, and Ebony Hilton. Our Nick Neville joins us from Clarendon County tonight outside of Manning High School. So Nick, tell us what led up to all of this.
Judy, so an incident report says that it was a prior fight between two students. Per district protocol, the parents of those students were called to pick them up, but it's when those parents arrived at this school that things really got out of control. 4 Manning High School parents have been arrested after a large fight broke out between parents and students on school grounds Tuesday. Ashley Brock, Santana Butler, Andrea Walters, and Ebony Hilton face public disorderly conduct charges.
Kids are going to get into it, sometime, but a lot of times they get that from home, the examples from home. And when the parents get into it, also, it's just getting sad, and it's getting worse these days, at all the schools.
The incident report says that when deputies arrived, they had to try to separate Brock and Hilton. 2 students joined in at that time, with one student punching Brock several times in the face.
It doesn't make no sense fighting in school. For school for, where to get your academic education, for go there violence. We have enough of that in the street as it is.
EMS responded to treat Hilton for her injuries. As Brock was being escorted to a patrol car, Walters then tried to fight her, the report says. Butler, meanwhile, was arrested after she would not stop cursing and shouting, according to an incident report. She, too, tried to fight another woman. Some members of the Manning High community shocked by this behavior.
It sets a bad example for, all the kids when they see their parents out there.
For Clarendon County, we really don't need that. It got to be, some type of, change for, we can't have that here in our school.
The Clarendon County School District sent me a statement on this incident today, saying in part that the incident does not reflect the values of Manning High School or the Clarendon County School District as a whole. It also said that the district remains committed to providing a safe learning environment for all of its students. Reporting in Manning, Nick Neville, WIS News 10.
Let me start by saying this. We just talked about the student and where she get her attitude from and why she responded the way she responded. There you go. And this is not the first time I've ever dealt with something like that. I remember my first time ever having to deal with that. It was at a football game. Girl got into an argument with another little girl from something that happened in school earlier that day. And before I can even go over there to separate them, the mom was in the middle of it, starting to throw blows. The little girl hadn't even started to throw blows. The mom started to throw blows. With that being said, I know 3 of the females of those 4 that were arrested. And again, you try to get the parents to understand that they need to be an example of how to handle situations with kids. If anything, when we talk about de-escalation, is that the parents should have took that child, walked away, and asked for individual meetings in reference to that situation, instead of confronting the other parents or the other kids right then and there when you know it's a heated situation. We as adults know when situations are heated, we know we should walk away. But they believe, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to get this taken care of right now. You ain't going to talk to my daughter like that. You ain't going to touch my daughter, blah, 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 blah. I did that one time before, and guess what? My son was completely wrong during the whole doggone situation. And here I am looking like a fool 2 days later when I found out what the truth was. De-escalation with the parents, handling situations. This for these kids that go to school and act like they acted, like the girl acted towards the teacher. This is where they learned it from.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. And I will say it while we're live, I'm even guilty of that. Mine comes from a different reasoning behind. But we always speak of de-escalation, and the problem sometimes you have is the principal's not de-escalating the situation. Okay. But in, not to point out any principal or anything, because I was just as wrong. So I'm not going to put more blame on one than the other. Okay. However, I understand from a parental perspective and from a family perspective, because anyone that knows me in this community, the last thing you do is play with my wife or my kids. Like, that don't fly with me. That don't fly at all. I'm the man of the house. I take care of my family. And if you want to talk trash, you can talk it about me, but don't do it about my family. Okay. I get even that side of it. But to go into a schoolhouse and to start all that drama and all that nonsense to the extreme of throwing blows with another parent, and even the students throwing blows against the adults, is absolutely ludicrous. It is out of control. And they were charged. This is what gets me. They were charged with disorderly conduct.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
That's an assault.
Disorderly what? That is assault 10 times over. Like, why are they going so lightly? Is it now? It could be. I'm not going to come down on whether it's Manning Police Department or Sheriff's Department or whoever's leading this thing. But is it because that's all they could make of such the confusion in there? You just don't know with the investigation that's going on.
Yeah.
What yeah, you can see so-and-so throwing a punch, but was she defending herself? I'm sorry, but if someone throws a punch at you, you have the right to defend yourself. So it may be just a fiasco for them. That's the only out that I could possibly think of, is that that's the only reason they're all not being charged for all this nonsense. But wow. Like,
yeah,
wow.
I'm going to act like T for a minute. What if this was 4 men? Because this involved 4 women. I understand what you're saying, but it could have either gone on way and say, you know what, we can't figure out who did what, we're charging everybody.
I think to clear it up, it was the Sheriff's Department and not the city of Manning. However, we did assist. I think some of them are charged with public disorderly conduct and others are charged with something else. So that's kind of not the truth, but I don't think they had the whole story. But I'm going to be mute on this one and just listen.
Yep. No, yeah. And I can understand that.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah. It's just, I guess it's one thing to be pissed off, and it's one thing to defend your family, and I get that. I am family through and through. But it's another thing to start throwing blows with somebody inside of a school, and you're the parent and your kids are right there. If you had a problem with it, I'll use an example. When we had to go to the school for Gavin having a vape, okay? I said, Gavin, go step out of here. And, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but he never left. However, that's what should have happened. Like, step over there. I want to talk to the principal, or I want to talk to, this person, whoever was there, just to get the story. But instead, they went in there and from my understanding, from my son's perspective, one of the girls had gotten pregnant and one of the boys was responsible, and there was other things behind this. But still, at the end of the day, we're teaching our kids just to throw blows when they don't agree. Like, that doesn't even make logical sense, especially when you get out into the workforce. It's kind of like taking Captain Sonia and her getting on TV and saying, well, he talked smack to me, so I punched him in his mouth. Like, she just threw her career down the toilet. And now with these ladies, whatever job you had, you obviously, got charged. You possibly went to jail. I don't know all the backstory of it, but that can't be good for a resume. Okay. Being charged with any kind of assault or any kind of disorderly conduct And depending upon the degree and the circumstances, I mean, it could be life altering for them. And they're probably sitting in their house and saying, yeah, we ain't never going to take no smack and this and that. And really, that's what you're going to teach your kids so they can end up like you? Like with this on their record and so forth and so on. It's a domino effect. And I don't think that parents truly understand the damage that they just caused within the school. And at the end of the day, it just goes back to that same old thing that we've been talking about is where do we finally say, you know, enough is enough. This is expected from you. And if you can't meet this minimum expectation, you need to go get your education elsewhere.
Yeah. When I first saw this story, I
got a question real quick, Vic.
Yeah.
Cap, were the kids expelled or going through expulsion?
I think they may be in that process. I'm not sure where they are with it. That would be common practice, though. Did you hear me?
Well, you know, even if...
Yeah, I heard you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
and even if they weren't, let's just say they weren't expelled, okay? Okay, let's just say, for instance, 2 out of 4 or whatever it wasn't expelled and they were just disciplined, okay? A week suspension, 2 weeks suspension or whatever. I guarantee you there's going to be another shell out because if you fought on school property, you as a parent will no longer be allowed on that school property unless it's an absolute emergency. So you're going to miss your child's graduation if they should graduate. At the rate they're going, they probably won't, but let's just say they do. You won't be able to attend that school function or any school function for that matter that has to do with your child because of your behavior. If they should change their ways and go about a great life, you're going to be permanently trespassed from the high school. With the exception of, you know, an emergency given situation, the child, you know, gets injured, falls, breaks their head, something, you know, something that is traumatic that would need medical attention. But for any of those school functions, you can't go visit your child, you can't go see them, you can't talk to their teachers, you know, other than maybe a video conference or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
and even if
this kind of
like
stuff
a
is
school grounds
serious.
to be stored by this SRO, they're kind of be under guard, even if they're allowed to come on the school campus. Or yeah, it's like these are parents.
Right.
Just, I saw it. I don't get it. Maybe we all need to have community-wide de-escalation training. Everybody going to parents, students, teachers, everybody. We are all going to go to de-escalation and throwing some anger management with it.
I'm gonna make this comment. I pray for the sake of everybody involved, just like I do for the teacher and the student in the other situation, that because their emotions got the best of them, that their lives aren't ruined and that they do have a future. Let's pray that for them.
Yeah.
I'll agree with that 100%. Absolutely. You know, we are supposed to forgive ye at least be forgiven. And so you should forgive people and give. And I truly do believe everyone deserves a second chance. Everybody. You know, that's people make mistakes. People's tempers get flared and it's in many different life situations. But when you forgive and you truly do that, you give that person the second chance to prove themselves and to say, you know, gosh, I made a bad choice. I got out of control. I did these things. And from that point forward, that's where, you know, we find out if that second chance is worthy of them saying, you know, this was an isolated incident. I made a mistake. But a lot of times the message is also sent that our society's out of control. Our kids are out of control. The adults are out of control. And it's just setting a very bad tone. And when you broadcast, even like Sonia said, she thinks that charges may have been more than that. They may not gotten the entire, you know, story. But what they did report on is disorderly conduct. Misdemeanor, maybe, I don't know, what was the whole 30 days in jail, 60 days in jail, max, $500 fine, something. Like, kids will look at that as a joke. That's the way kids do it. They'll look at that as man, I ain't worried about that. He didn't even go to juvenile hall. He got 2 weeks suspension. So it's kind of like, all right, where do we go? Where do we go from here? How do we draw the line and say, this is it? But because of this incident, this is the straw that broke the camel's back, and we have got to rethink things to bring education back into the picture and bring self-control back into the picture. I mean, I never went to a high school that the doors were locked. Like, you got to buzz in to get in the Manning Hot. And I think that's, around the country, there's those things are happening.
Yeah.
We've gone to such extreme measures, but we haven't implemented things as a prevention, as just, hey, you know what? If this happens, we're not going to argue about it. You're done here. You're expelled. But upper administration obviously is going to dispute that, because they get funds based upon test scores and education and attendance and all these things. And you start expelling, 100,000, 100 kids, 1,000 kids, then all of a sudden their funding is going down, and teachers are quitting because their salaries are being cut. And, it's got this huge domino and wave effect, when at the end of the day, it shouldn't even be like that. You shouldn't get funding based upon this or that. You should get funding because it's equal and fair across the board. And I'm trying to get teachers in here that want to teach, and I'm keeping the students here that want to learn and that want to become something. Instead, we've gotten motivated by money. I hate to say that, but that's the truth. We've got motivated by money. And in disrespect, well, you can't okay, that's a prison thing. When you work inside of a prison, I worked in a prison, and Terrence was still on. He works inside of a prison. You're talking about prisoners, disrespect prisoner, between themselves. But they're in a prison. This is a school system, and you show the proper respect to the proper authority. And to me, that's not asking too much. I think we need to go back to some of the old school ways that we've done things to get us back on the right track.
We need to go back
and Sonia brought up a good point. Showing respect, in two directions. Even Quentin brought that up. Showing respect in two directions, but understanding that I'm going to give you respect, but at the end of the day, I am the teacher. This is my classroom, and I am in charge. The principal, this is my school. I am in charge. Setting those tones, but I'm going to respect you, and you got to respect me.
Yeah, exactly. Respect goes both ways, and we just big prayers for our schools and principals and teachers and students. Both of these situations, it's like it's happened because both sides. And both stories are just people who got all caught up in their emotions, didn't de-escalate, or didn't de-escalate enough, or could have done a better job de-escalating, or just generally just respecting everybody and what they have to do. I think I said everything I need to say. Sonia, Andrew, any last words?
I'm good. I just hope that that everybody in this situation learns something from that, as far as the charges pending and everything, because you just can't go out in the world acting like that. You got to have some recourse for yourself and just be able to handle situations better. Last I'm gonna say on it is, what if one of the parents was weapons on them and came out of pocket? Somebody would have really been hurt.
I've said everything I needed to say.
Something's got to change, though.
Yeah, something doesn't.
It starts at home.
Something's definitely got to change.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to be in a merciless society, I guess you could say. And if we can educate these kids on respect, then maybe, and I know we've got officers amongst us. I don't just say that because they are amongst us, but if we teach them respect early on and continue to enforce that respect, then when an officer approaches them about anything, whether it be good or bad, they're automatically giving that officer respect. They're giving that principal respect. They're giving another adult respect, and letting them know that, hey, if for some reason you feel like something went wrong, then that's where mom and dad come and say, hey, what seems to be the problem here? My child told me blah, blah, blah. But it's never going like that. It's going to hands-on, fist-on violence, and that's what solves problems. And that's what society has become. You see it on the news every single day. The raids into the stealing in Walmart products and Walgreens and burning this down and doing this and doing. If we don't go back to the simple basics, there won't be any schools left. There won't be any teachers left. There won't be any role models left, because they're going to have their hands full with a bunch of folks that are out of control.
All right. Everybody's good? All right. Just to do a little close out here. I know we've been talking a lot about the crazy people that have been acting a fool in schools. But I just want to give a shout out to all the schools and Clarendon School District 2. I know EOC testing is coming up soon, and I pray you guys study and pass all your tests with flying colors. Because I am a band guy, I'm a trombone player, music in my whole life. I want to do just a shout out to the Manning High School band. They've been doing some really great work this year. The jazz band received superior rating, I believe, when their jazz performance assessment. The concert band received an excellent rating, I believe. It's been a couple years since they've gone and been judged. And so I just want to give a big congrats to the band director, Jordan Jefferson, the Manning High School band. You guys are doing a great job. We got some really, really great, talented musicians in Clarendon too. Any other shout outs, well wishes from you guys before I close out?
Just those students that are doing well, we congratulate you. We promote your positiveness. We hope you have a great future, and keep doing what you're doing. Lead by example and don't be a follower, because if you're already there, you're going to continue to be there throughout life.
And for those that are falling behind, let's pray that they get it together and they find their way.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Andrew?
I'm good, Vic.
All right, y'all. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to click on that like and subscribe button. Please click on like and subscribe. It's real easy. Click on like and subscribe, and peace. If I can.
Get up, you need to get up off your ass, boy. Get up, you need to get up off your ass, girl. Get up, you need to get up off your ass, boy. Get up, you need to get up off your ass, girl. Get up, you need to get up off your ass, boy. Get up, you need to get up off your ass, girl. Get up, you need to get up off your ass, boy. Get up. First things first, don't do this rap shit to stand out. My plan's about to minimize the folks holding their hands out. Whether you on the corner bumming all day at your man, rap shit to stand out. My plan's about to minimize the folks holding their hands out. Whether you on the corner bumming all day at your man's house, relying on government funds, crying cause they ran out. It's hard to believe you can receive when you ain't ran routes. When chasing the greed, most people bleed cause it don't pan out. It's time to proceed, so take heed to what your plan's about, so you can grow seeds with no